Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right, baby. Welcome to the Gridiron. If you give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified, and it's free of charge. What do you got to lose? It's totally free of charge. But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel, description box below, very top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,800 members in the group, and it is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. Well, guys, it's about 11:30, so we got about 30 minutes, and that means then it's 30 minutes. Well, actually, it's 24 minutes. 24 minutes. It'll be Tuesday. And what does that mean? That means training camp is in session, gang. Guys, girls, gang, everybody. The rookies got to show up. But then that means the following Tuesday, everybody else got to show up. So it's on, guys. It's on, right? So now that there's like this area, the void, right? That we've had 4 or 5 weeks where there's like nothing going on, right? Well, now they'll start being filled with balls getting thrown in the air and get some contact going on and all. Oh man, we're gonna be talking about the training camp and all that stuff and everything here because we got some certainly on the offense and some defense. I mean, as always, some questions need to be answered without question. But I seen this article. I really don't. I don't see this one happening. Somebody, I forgot who it was exactly, wrote it, article. The problem I have with this one here would be, and the guy who wrote the article, he's got a point. He certainly has a point, as I read the article and all. It's just that, and I cheated, I looked. He's 73. Of course, we're talking about Nick Saban here. 73. Halloween, he'll be 74. So basically this football season, he'll be 74. Now, they're talking about if Daboll gets fired. So after the season's over, Daboll gets axed if he does. Let's hope not, because I hope everything just goes it just goes so well, right? That we don't need another coach, right? I'm sick and tired of getting new coaches. But if Daboll does get fired, right, and we bring in, as crazy as this sounds, Nick Saban, that means next season, during next fall, he will be 75 years old. I mean, to be honest with you, how long is this guy? It wound up being like a Bill Parcells kind of thing. I mean, certain guys only going to be around for so long. Right, I mean, when Bill Parcells, the writing was on the wall. Bill Parcells, he hung in there from with the Giants from 83 to 90. That was, but he was with the Patriots, I think, for 3 years. He was with the Jets for 3 years. He was with the Cowboys for 3 years. So he was almost after he left the Giants, right? He was almost with the Patriots, the Jets, and as long as he was with the Giants, there was 9 years with those 3 teams, I believe. I think it was 3 and 3. But it was, 8 years, I think, with the Giants, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. Yeah, 8 years. So, but, after he left the Giants, it was with the Patriots for a brief period of time. He kept saying he was leaving with the Giants. He was going to be done coaching with the Giants, And after he left the Patriots, this is my last coaching. He goes to the Jets. This is definitely my last coaching job. Then he winds up surfacing with the Cowboys a few years later. Yeah. But it's the same thing with Saban. How long would he be here? You know what I mean? Is he, is he going to be able to take the roster that we have and make it a winner? Or is he going to have to kind of gut it and get his own guys in there? Right? And you don't even know if he could be a real successful modern day coach in the NFL. Like I said, how long is he going to be able to put into it? 3 years? By the time, he'd be like 77, 70 years old if he put like a few years into this. It's like, so I don't know. But I said, let me read this story here. He has a little bit, this makes a little bit of sense, but I'd have a hard time. The one thing, is the Saban for Kelly, that might have a little more, whatever you want to call it, weight to it, shall we say, than Saban coming to the NFL. You keep seeing these rumors. Of course, that's all rumor, But, Kelly was supposed to go down there and do some magical things at LSU. Because one of the things that he had was that he realized that, because with Notre Dame, they have so many, standards that they hold, they just don't take anybody. It does, you can be a 5-star recruit, but if you don't have good grades and stuff, I'm sorry, we don't want you. Right? It's not easy. You just can't get into Notre Dame. Right? Not like some of these other schools. And that's why some of these other schools are so good. And, there's certain, restrictions that are different that Notre Dame has at other schools. And that's one of the reasons why Notre Dame has a hard time beating these elite schools, as we saw in this latest, college football championship. Notre Dame just doesn't. They don't get everybody. They have a hard time recruiting, as Alabama, LSU, Ohio State. They have a little easier time getting some of these recruits. So it's difficult. But that was the one thing that with Kelly leaving Notre Dame to go to LSU. Kelly was, he's got I'm never. Kelly did all he could pretty much do at Notre Dame every year, whatever, win pretty much double-digit wins, go to a bowl game or whatever. And that was probably about all he could, because he was probably never ever with the way he could, the recruiting, he could probably never win himself a national championship. So he was just going to keep doing the same thing over and over for the next 10 years. Win 10 more games, be 10-2, go to a bowl game, maybe win it, maybe lose it. And the next year, be 10-2. Go to a bowl game, maybe win it, maybe the following year, 10 game, or 1 year, maybe he'd be 8-4, next year he'd be 11-1. Then he might be 9-3, he might be 10-2, he might be 10. It was the same thing. Every year it was going to be the same thing and never win a national championship. So that's why he went to LSU, because you can get those good players, right? And have a chance to win a championship. That's what he wants. I don't blame him. He's coached. He's been a phenomenal coach wherever he's gone to, but he's hasn't had that easy of a time. He's kind of noticing you just don't walk in LSU and get the good recruits, and all of a sudden you just win. It's not that easy. So he's finding out. So in this article, it talks a little bit also about maybe if Kelly were to stumble, at LSU, maybe Saban might step in there. Who knows? But let me read this article here. So we got, Giants might just land one of the most iconic coaches in football history if they part ways with Brian Daboll after 2025. Now, also, I would be thrilled to death if this was college football and we're talking about maybe getting Saban. But once again, he's 73. He's going to be 74. How much effort, how much time, how much is energy is you going to be able to give to another, so who knows, but I mean, it's not always easy, just being a college coach, coming to the pros and winning. Well, he won in the college, so he's got to win no. He won in the pros, so he goes to college, he's got to win in the college. No, he doesn't. No. It's they're real different animals. So some coaches can. Some coaches can't. Right? Especially, if you're coaching young men, 18, 19, 20, you can kind of maybe get away with yelling at them. You come to the big boy league, you start yelling at some of these older guys, some of these older veterans and stuff like that, and it's going to turn them off. So, hey, Coach Brian Daboll knows his job is at stake going to the 2025 season. Owner John Mara explicitly told the media he was running out of patience near the start of the offseason. And if Daboll ends up being fired by the end of the year, it will be coaching search season for the Giants once again. If the latest rumors around the football world are true, one of the most iconic coaches in sports history could very well be in the mix, former Alabama head coach Nick Saban. And according to my fellow A to Z, now who's this? Mauricio Rodriguez. I hope I said their first name right, but his last name is Rodriguez of A to Z Sports. It looks like Mauricio Rodriguez wrote this. I don't know who he is, but okay. So, and according to Mauricio, fellow A to Z Sports writer Zach Ragan, the Giants are 2 of 3. Giants are 2. Oh, okay. 2 of 3 teams that make the most sense for Saban, including those in college football. So, according to this article, there's 3 teams that would make sense for Saban to go to. Why Nick Saban could be in the mix for a future opening with the Giants. The math on the Giants side of things is simple. The roster has many holes, and there's a significant probability they won't be making the playoffs this year. In fact, they could realistically end up picking in the top 10 once again. That's a possibility. I mean, especially if we get hit with the injury bug and we have a very difficult schedule. Now, theoretically, we could win, I'm just going to say 6 games. Call me crazy, right? Say we're 6-11. I hope not. Hopefully we're better than that. But right, we'll be picking right around 10, 11, somewhere around there. So, and especially another thing too is you got to figure if we start stumbling out of the blocks, right? We don't take off right away. I don't expect us to, but if we did, sign me up for it. But if we start seeing where maybe the season is lost, then what happens? You might put Jackson Dart in there. And let's not forget what happened with Eli Manning in his 2004, right? We were 5-4. We were right in the playoff mix. But the Giant, and according to Kurt Warner, is what he thought was the Giants, maybe the owners and the coach and all the staff and whatever, thought that the Giants, maybe could make the playoffs, but maybe they were not good enough to win a Super Bowl. So why not take advantage of this season, the rest of the 2004 season, and put the rookie in there? Eli Manning. We'll give him the reps he would get would be so valuable. It's not even crazy. But the problem is that, that they lost their first 6 games with Eli in there. They were 5-4, and by the time the next 6 games played out, they went from 5-4 to 5-10. Right, and then they won their last game of the season, so they were 6-10. Well, it could wind up happening here, right? With the Giants, say the Giants or whatever, 5-6. I don't know, whatever. It's not. I don't think we're not that good. We're not a playoff. Maybe we even make the playoffs. We're going to make the Super Bowl. I don't know. Pull the plug on the season. We go from 5-6. Maybe we win the last game of the season or something, but we go from 5-6 to 5-11. right? We lose the next 5 games, and maybe we win the last game of the season, or we win the second to last, and we lose the last one, or whatever. But with Dart in there, we could literally go 1-5 in the final 6 games or so if they decide to pull the plug on the season. And once again, we would only win like maybe 6 games. It would seem like a really bad season, but we won twice as many as the year before. But also, we went 1-5 in the final 6 games because we had a rookie in there. Now, if we had Wilson in there, maybe we went 2-4. Who knows? Maybe we would have finished 7-10 instead of 6-11. Who knows? Right? But the roster has many holes, and there's a significant probability they won't be making the playoffs. In fact, they could realistically be picking once again the top 10. If that's the case, Daboll is likely out of the picture in 2026. But once again, you don't know. You don't know, especially if because the Giants in 2004 ended on a high note. That game that the Giants beat the Cowboys in 28-24 at Giants Stadium was as bad as it was. They started they were 5-2 at one point. They lost 2 close games and they were 5-4. They took Warner out. They put Eli in, but they lost 6 games in a row. So they went from 5-4 to 5-10. But they won their last game. So actually they were 6-10, and they actually kind of in a small way almost ended on a high note because they saw what Eli could do. We got the ball back. We were down 24-21. It was 2 minutes to go or so, whatever it was in the game. Eli drove him down the field. We got down around the 2-yard line or so. Me and my son, we were at the game. We were down we were maybe around the 20-yard line or so, but right where the Giants scored, we were on the sideline. And, they got down around the 2 or so. Eli walks up to the line of scrimmage. I think he went like this. He changed the play. I think changed it to a draw play to Tiki, right? Nice hole. Tiki walks into the end zone. Giants win the game. But so they almost ended it on a high note. They lost 8 games in a row. They went from 5-2 to 5-10, and they actually walked off the field after the final game feeling like they got something there because they had they had the quarterback of the future, right, which was huge. And, the following year they made the playoffs. I mean, they lost 23-0 at home to the Panthers. That was probably the worst absolute. Well, no, I can't say that. I didn't see the 61 championship game when the Giants lost 37-0. But that game. Well, you can watch it on YouTube actually if you want. That game was really bad. That was really, really bad if you ever watch that on YouTube. But anyway, so the Giants could actually be 6-11, and actually at the end of the season be kind of walking off like we might have something here because we know we got a defense, right? We're only a couple players. If Dart is the guy for the future, right? We're only a couple players away in offense, right? We need another weapon, whether it's a tight end or a wide receiver. We need another weapon, and somebody else that scares the opponent's defense. That's what we need. And we'll have to look and see what we need as far as on the offensive line. But we got the offense that we have. Hopefully, we can bring back Wandale. We're going to be talking about the offense, but if Dart's the guy, we're only maybe a couple guys away. But we really, really could use another weapon on offense. We had one with Saquon, but we let him go. So anyway, on Saban's side of things, the conversation was kickstarted by a specific rumor that points toward a potential return to coaching from the 7-time national championship winner head coach. SEC Network analyst Greg McElroy said that a person he trusts and is in the know seems to think Nick Saban is not done coaching. Whew. He's pretty adamant that he thinks Nick Saban will be coaching again. Whew. If true, the question becomes where. My colleague Zach Ragan pointed to LSU Tigers, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Giants as the 3 likeliest landing spots. Now, of course, it's just, you're not going to say the Eagles. You're not going to say Detroit. You're not, you know, I mean, there's certain spots you're not going to say because they're not getting rid of their coaches. I mean, for the most part, there's a good chance, some of these teams here, the coaches, like Tomlin, just certain guys are just, they're not getting fired after this season, right? But you can possibly say Cincinnati, LSU, and the Giants, right? He said, you just know that Saban hates that he failed in the NFL. Now, he failed it, but he wasn't like he was a coach for like a long time or anything. He was just with the Dolphins for like 1 year, I think it was. Let me see here. Now, he was also an assistant to Bill Belichick when he was a defensive coordinator. When Belichick was with the Browns in the early to mid 90s, Saban was with Belichick. And he did a good job. He did a very good job as a coordinator. Very, very good job. Nick Saban coaching record. Now, the thing was, I mean, he was with okay, let's try this here. NFL coaching. Try that. Oh, he's with the Dolphins. He was 15 and 17. He coached the Dolphins for 2 seasons, from 2005 to 2006. He left the NFL to become the head coach at University of Alabama. So he was for 2 years, actually, right? Yeah. So he was 15 and 17, 32 games. So he coached for just 2 years. So the thing was, he had a losing record with Miami, but it was able to be there for a long period of time, bringing all the guys he wanted and all that. So. But it says in this article, apparently it's eating at him that he as he said, so-called failed in the NFL. And that deep down he thinks he could have success at football's highest level. But when he was with the Dolphins, it was 20 years ago. He was 53 years old. Now he's 73. I mean, somewhere along the line, you're going to have to give it up. Especially the temper he has. I mean, it's just not good for you. Yeah. Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, who worked under Saban for 3 seasons at Alabama, said on Monday that he could see his former boss returning to the NFL. I kind of thought it might be the NFL for Saban, said Kiffin on Monday during an appearance on the SEC network, because he's so sharp skill. He's so sharp still. So apparently, but if Saban makes the jump to the NFL, the Giants or the Bengals would make a lot of sense if either job was to come open. Giants have some nice young talent, including a player and wide receiver Malik Nabers that Saban loves. Now, that was one of the things, too. Last season, right? Daboll called before the draft. He called up Saban because he worked for him for, I think it was like a year. And he said, he talked to him. He's like, who you liking, like on the offensive side? And Saban brought up 2 names. And my God, if he was not freaking spot on, it's scary. He said the 2 guys that gave us trouble, Saban said it gave him trouble, was Malik Nabers. How did he do last year? For a crappy team, how did he do? Pretty good. And the other guy was Bowers. How did he do for a crappy team? Freaking awesome. He said those guys gave him trouble. He was spot on. Spot on. So at least we got one of them, right? Who knows if Saban will really seek to return to coaching, but it's clear the Giants are one of the teams likeliest to be looking for a new head coach a year from now. Saban was a defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick in Cleveland from 91 to 94. He was later the head coach of the Dolphins for 2 seasons. The thing is that, in 91 to 94, the Browns did go to to the playoffs one of those years. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't 94. 94 was their I think was their last season in Cleveland. I think it was, and the team was kind of, I guess, in disarray. I mean, they knew the organization. I can't remember the idiot's name. I can't stand the owner, whoever and he took them and went to Baltimore, where they became the Ravens. Modell, but so it was either 92 or 93. The Browns went to the playoffs. They had a good team. They actually had a good team, and Belichick was the coach, right? And Saban was the defense coordinator. And they had a nice defense, too. So, I mean, he did a good job as a defensive coordinator. And, so-so job in the NFL. But I said, to me, if anything, I could see him, because he's so used to, the recruiting and bringing guys in. And he can get away with yelling at younger guys and all that stuff and everything. It's a little different animal in the pros. But who knows? I mean, because if Daboll were to wind up getting fired, I'm sure we'll have conversations with Bill Belichick, right? Wanting to come here, but we'll have to wait and see. And I've seen this one here. Now, let's hope the Giants have a plan for Mr. Bo, right? Now, you draft these guys, and the Giants have not had good success drafting guys, and maybe if they're not really good right off the bat, developing them. We've had you can go through, right, however many guys you want, right? The guys, if they come in, if they're good, okay, cool. But if they're not, it just, you can go, the guy Hart, the year we picked Flowers, 2015. First round, we picked Flowers. The 7th round, we picked Hart. We had Hart for a couple of years, and Gettleman got rid of him. He was causing some problems, I think, toward the end of the year or something like that. He was causing some problems, and Gettleman got rid of him. And Hart, all he did was latch on with the Bengals. I can't remember if it was just the Bengals, if he went to another team or not, but he played, right? I mean, you can go to one team after the, not one team, one player after the other almost with our offensive linemen. And if they leave, like Parrott, he latched on with the Broncos. He's a 3rd round pick. Guy's 6'30". I mean, he was enormous from Connecticut, but I mean, couldn't make the lineup. It was like, we let him go. Right? He latches on with the Broncos. He did a well enough job, right, that they signed him to a 2-year extension. You almost one guy after the other. Guy Jake Burton, I think he was with the Giants in 2021, I think it was. I don't even think he made the team. Well, after being out of football for 2 or 3 years, he made the Lions lineup. I think he was just on their practice squad. He might have made one game or something like that, but for the most part, I think he was on a practice squad. But we let him go. He was out of football for a couple of years, and he latches on with the Lions. So, yeah. So let's hope that we can, if he's not an immediate impact player, right, we're able to develop this guy. We've drafted a lot of offensive linemen, and one of the big problems we've had is not being able to develop these guys. With Azudu, right? You draft a guy that low, and you have visions of this guy either being a starter or good. I mean, actually, really, you draft a guard like in the 3rd round. Oh yeah, you don't. Oh, we'll draft him in the 3rd round. He'll probably be good on the practice squad. No, the guy should be a starter for you. Right? If nothing else, he should be a real nice contributor. But so let's hope that we can find something for Mr. Bo, right? And develop this guy. Giants is from heavy.com, heavy on NFL. Giants have a complex plan for rookie Marcus Bo. Using the 5th round pick to select Purdue offensive lineman Marcus Bo was the least hyped move the Giants made in the 2025 NFL draft. but it could turn out to be the most significant thanks to a complex plan involving the rookie and at least 2 veteran blockers. The plan was described by John Finelli of Giants Wire. He referenced Bo as part of an argument for why 35-year-old Greg Van Roten could lose his job at left guard. Finelli explained the hope is that Marcus Bo can win a job this summer, either at guard or tackle. Now, we're probably pretty much talking right guard or right tackle, because he's not bumping out Andrew Thomas, and John Runyon Jr. is probably pretty much cemented himself. As long as he comes back from his shoulder and everything's fine, he's probably pretty much cemented himself as our left guard. If the latter happens, Jermaine Eluemunor would shift to guard. Okay, all right, okay. Either way, depth is needed all along the line, absolutely. Shifting Eluemunor to guard would be bad news for Van Roten, who was the only player to play every offensive snap last season. But the Giants wouldn't be upset if he gets beaten out for the job. Van Roten is already under threat from high-profile draft bust Evan Neal, making the switch to guard. Neal enjoying a successful transition can help the Giants salvage something from the investment they made in the 7th overall pick in 2022. Now, they got Bo can be a tackle, and we got Neal at guard, and maybe we get Michael Schmitz. Hopefully, he can keep inching his way, get a little bit better. But Bo's ascension would have a greater knock-on effect across the line. Giants need Marcus Bo to meet expectations. Bo was touted as a steal as soon as he became the 154th pick. He can justify the hype by translating natural aggression as a mauler to the pro level. The player's nasty streak showed up on these blocks, highlighted by wide left's James Foster. Now, there's a video here, 3 minutes and 32 seconds worth. So 3.5 minutes of video, but showing him in college, though. All right. Bo instantly playing like this in the NFL is a lofty expectation, but the 22-year-old meeting, it can help the Giants solve a problem not being talked about enough this offseason. Lost amid all the talk about new quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart, as well as the excitement about a loaded defensive front, has been a frank assessment of what the Giants have along the O-line. But let's not forget also, right? I mean, you talk bad about the O-line, all that stuff. I get it, right? No need to explain it to me. It's also, it's like, what have you done for me lately, league? But let's not forget, right? The Giants, the first 5-6 weeks last year, right? They did not have the best offensive line in football. I'm not saying that, but they're like mid, right? If you look at the tape, I mean, they had some issue, but you also go to PFF, right? They were grading out 16, 17, 18, somewhere around, or around there. Okay? And they were just starting to, play together, right? The longer you play together, the better you get, right? You know the strengths and weaknesses of each other and all that stuff. So it helps to play. The more you play together, the better, right? So they were a decent unit. They were not as horrible as everybody's making out there. Then, of course, Andrew Thomas gets injured, and then the wheels fall off the bus, and the bus comes to a crashes into a tree, catches on fire, right? So that's why the last 11 weeks of the season was, because every week was a different starting rotation on the offensive line. We had 10 different starting offensive line combinations. It's tough to go very far when every week you got different combination. So the Giants' offensive line, the first 5 or 6 weeks last year, were not all right. We were 2-3 at one point, right? Then all of a sudden, all the offensive line combinations start sneaking in here and there, and we go from 2-3 to 3-14. It just happened to coincide the time that right at the time the Giants started, their offensive line just started going kaput. Right, that's when we lost. Was 11 of the last 12 games? Right. The position group has been a weakness for a long time, and doubts persist even after some improvements last season. Big Blue surrendered 48 sacks. Well, I mean, they got a lot better. I mean, 1 year after allowing a league high 85. So they went from 85 down to 48. Darn near almost half. Still, obviously, 48 still obviously a little on high, but once again, they had a lot of backups in there. Guys moving from one position to the other. Right? What improvement there was owed a lot to Van Roten and Illuminor. Absolutely. The latter became something of a linchpin after replacing Neal at right tackle, but his versatility can make the Giants stronger at a vital point. Jermaine Illuminor moved to guard can transform the O-line. Having Illuminor transfer his 6'4", 338-pound frame to the inside could secure a key area of the lineup, namely the position left tackle Andrew Thomas, the brilliant but brittle lineman who's the best blocker on the roster. Thomas has had to carry the load by himself for far too long, but putting an imposing guard next to him would change things for the better. Illuminor fits the bill, but Neal could still surprise his critics. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But they're also talking about, they're talking about putting, putting aluminum. I mean, I don't know if they think it's going to happen to John Runyon Jr. In this article there, I don't know. Head coach Brian Daboll admitted Neal has done a nice job. He's picked up things well inside since moving from right tackle. Daboll's always going to say that. He's going to say, well, how's Neal been? He sucks. He's not picking anything up. He keeps tripping over his feet all the time. I think we're probably going to cut. I mean, he ain't going to say that. No coach, for the most part, is ever going to say that. Right? You always say that the things you're supposed to say. So, but this training camp coming on, right? We'll start to find out, right? Because you got a few weeks, and we have the first exhibition game. Oh, man. Woo. Love it. This is one time of the season I get excited about the beginning of football. Love it. Because I got the Giants and I got Notre Dame. So usually Notre Dame's pretty good. So at least if the Giants falter, I can always, not that Notre Dame's going to win a national championship or nothing, but at least I can watch some winning football. Right? Maybe Neal makes the grade, but his career has so far been defined by struggles with technique, erratic athleticism, and injury. Giants didn't get the return they hoped from a top 10 pick. But Bo can prove a true sleeper if things go to plan during training camp. So we will have to. That's one of those things we're certainly going to have to wait on. Training camp. We're going to talk about this in a little bit here, right? But if the Giants can get something out of Bo, I mean, you don't know. Right? We don't know if he can be a tackle, but he might be able to be a guard. But if he's going to move into guard or try him at guard, what if Neal, right? What if Neal does good, right? We got Runyon Jr. over there for, I think we signed him for 4 years. So we got him for another 3 years. So Bo's going to move into guard. If there's no room for him to move to, what happens to him? All right, I seen this one. This one here. Bears made Joe Shane just look like a genius. So, I mean, a lot of times Joe Shane has been obviously, mocked and knocked and all that stuff for some of the moves he makes and all of that. Of course, now, the biggest one, of course, is what happened with Saquon last season. Making, just say. The thing, we don't want a quarterback, a $40 million quarterback, turning around and handing the ball to a $15 million running back. That's the last thing and all that. So, of course, Shane looked like a jack. Right? You know what I mean? So that didn't do him any good. So a lot of things have been going bad for Shane, right? But apparently the Bears did something that made him look look like super genius. Now, this is according to story. This is from G-Men HQ. Bears just did something so bizarre it made Joe Shane look like a genius. Ryan Poles makes Joe Shane look like Bill Belichick. Ooh, there you go. That's a shame. I mean, I really feel bad. I mean, because with Williams in there, I mean, let's hope. I mean, I'm not pulling for the Bears or nothing, but it'd be nice if you have a star quarterback. It's nice that let's get the guy what he needs. I mean, last season the coaching was absolutely horrible. Now let's hope that their GM is not a nut case either. Right? Let's hope. Because when you actually get that the one thing that's really holding. I mean, there's a couple things that's holding the NFL down. A couple of them is that there's not necessarily a it's tough. You figure as the world population grows, we still have a hard time getting a full allotment of offensive linemen that can really play in the league. It's not easy. I get it because you're going up against these unbelievably freakish athletes, the edge rushers and all that, right? But also another one of the problems is that that's one of the things that's so hard to for expansion, right? There's only so many quarterbacks out there, right? There's always teams. There's always 5 teams, 6, 8 teams at least. And there's always like 5 or 6 that really could use a quarterback. Then there's a couple teams out there that have a young quarterback, and they're like, well, we're not sure. We're gonna put him in like Dart. We don't know. Hey, man, I hope he's better than Joe Montana. Right? I hope he's the greatest thing of all time. I hope we win the next 39 Super Bowls with the guy. We don't know. So it's always going to be going into the draft. There's always going to be 4, 5, 6 teams, whatever, that really could use a quarterback. And then there's some teams that drafted a quarterback like McCarthy. He might be good. They don't know. Yeah, you don't know, right? Same thing with Dart. All these guys, a lot of these guys, they're going. Well, we're not sure. He hasn't really, So, that's one of the problems. There's a couple of them, but there's not enough quarterbacks to go around. I mean, if every team had a Tom Brady, if every team had a Patrick Mahomes or something like that, okay, but that's not the way it is. A lot of times it's like, it's you look at the quarterbacks. It's like, well, the Chiefs are playing the Giants. No. Chiefs aren't playing the Giants. Patrick Mahomes is going up against Daniel Jones. Oh, my God. Chiefs will win. You don't think, well, the Chiefs, they got a good running game, and their defensive coordinator, Spags, is good. I mean, the cornerbacks are good. I mean, their offensive line is really pretty good. They got a couple good wide receivers. Then on the Giants, on the other hand, well, it's like, you talk about the things that the Giants do. No. Patrick Mahomes, Daniel Jones. That's all you need to know. If you're talking about the Chiefs and the Bills, and you got Patrick Mahomes going up against Josh Allen. It's like, that's a good game right there. That's all you need to know. A lot of times, right? That's all you need to know. Right? So, I mean, every now and then a team with a better quality quarterback maybe beats it, But a lot of times it's the quarterback against another quarterback. It's they're obviously not going head to head, but you look at the two quarterbacks, right? That's why when we had Daniel Jones, we didn't win many games. The Giants fans thought that they had it rough with Joe Shane as the general manager. Imagine being a Chicago Bears fan. During Shane's tenure, the G-Men hold an unremarkable record of 18-32-1. After back-to-back disastrous seasons, it's hard to find anyone not calling for his job, and it's tough to argue with him. The past 24 months have been brutal. Just about every organization in the league will have Shane on the hot seat heading into 2025, unless you're the Chicago Bears, in which case he'd probably be getting a raise. Oh, God. All jokes aside, on Friday afternoon, ESPN's Hi, I'm Adam Schefter. I'm Shifty. Reported the Bears had come to an agreement with GM Brian Daboll to extend him 5 years through 2029 after overseeing a 15-36 record over the same stretch. Talk about completely different circumstances. Wow. So he was 15-36. His record was actually worse than the Giants, and they gave him a 5-year extension. Wow. Ryan Pauls will have Joe Shane looking for a contract extension next week. To be clear, Shane deserves plenty of heat for how New York has unraveled since that surprise playoff run in 2022. But at least he had one. Pauls has been running the Bears into the ground since day one, and somehow just got rewarded for it. This is the guy who said the Bears would be taking the NFC North and not give it back, only to finish last in the division in each of the past 3 seasons. It's finished in to be fair, also, it's a tough division, too. It is a tough division. I mean, you got the Packers, right? The Vikings and the Lions. 3 good teams, really good teams. But he's finished last in the division the past 3 years, and they gave him a 5-year extension. This is also the guy who traded away Roquan Smith, whiffed on multiple free agents, and hired an offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron, who didn't have an ounce of offensive creativity. And now he gets 5 more years to keep going. More of the same. Wow. Meanwhile, Shane's mistakes have been loud, deafening even, but at least he seems to learn from them. He inherited a disaster of a cap sheet, was forced into a Daniel Jones extension, and inexplicably let star players walk due to a penny pinching, but is now at least trying to clean it up. The results have been pretty. The results haven't been pretty, but the direction at least makes sense on paper. You can actually follow the logic, even if the execution has been questionable. That's what makes it even more baffling. Shane's been under fire for a mess of his own making, and rightfully so. But at least there's tangible pressure. In Chicago, Pauls did just as much damage, if not more, and somehow got rewarded for it. And just like that, Joe Shane might be the biggest winner of the Ryan Pauls 5-year mulligan. Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it's so some of it, at the end, when it's all over, Mr. Mara's going to look at the season. If we're 6-11, 7-10, 8-9, whatever, 5-12, he's going to. Shane and Daboll, they're not tied together anymore, right? He's going to look at, has Shane supplied Daboll with enough talent? Right? If the answer is yes, if we win 5 games, has Shane supplied Daboll and the coaches and all that with enough talent to win more than 5 games, or beyond? Should we be going? All right. If the answer is yes, well, Shane might stay. Daboll might go. So we'll have to wait and see. But they're no longer tied at the hip. Shane has certainly made some errors, that's for sure, without question. No doubt about that. But is he learning from them? Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully he's learning from them, and hopefully he won't make the same mistake twice. That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is obviously you don't want to make any mistakes, but mistakes happen. Every GM's made a mistake, right? But the thing is, do you learn from them? That's the biggest thing, And if you learn from them and you don't make the same mistake again, well, that's huge. Everybody gets knocked down. Do you stay down or do you get up fighting again? Right. So now on paper, as I said, we got a heck of a now I don't know how many games we're going to win, or with their offense and all that stuff, but at least on paper, we got a heck of a defense. We don't maybe a heck of a whole team, but we got a heck of a defense. We got it for a couple more years. So if we can, get the offense to be looking as strong on paper anyway as the defense, we have a pretty good team. But once again, you play the games on Sunday, right? What it says on paper don't mean nothing, right? So now I did see this here: the Giants might be better than expected. Now I always like seeing these feel good, right? We got the last story I got here is kind of a little feel good story too, but I always like enjoying join, see little articles, right? Because there's always plenty of negativity when it comes to the New York Football Giants. So I always like to see something that gives you a little bit of maybe a little ray of sunshine going into the season, right? So why might the Giants? So some surprising data gives hope that the 2025 New York Giants might be better than expected. Giants aren't necessarily doomed because they have the toughest strength of schedule, the new data suggests. All right. New York Giants general manager Joe Schoen vastly made over the team's roster this offseason, the goal being to improve last year's underperforming group, whose lack of depth was badly exposed once injuries hit. But some might argue that it doesn't matter given the Giants' difficult schedule of opponents, which, thanks to the strength of schedule metric, makes it the most difficult of the 32 teams this year. But the Giants' difficult schedule doesn't automatically spell doom. According to NFL research, 4 of the past 5 teams who entered the 2024 season with what was deemed as an easy schedule missed the playoffs. Four of the past 5 teams who entered the 2024 season with what's deemed as an easy schedule missed the playoffs. They talk about the 2024 Saints, the 2024 Falcons, the 2023 Falcons, and the 2022 Commanders. So I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about here. 4 of the past 5 years. No, for the past, I don't know. On the other hand, the 2023 Eagles and the 2021 Steelers, both of whom had the most challenging schedules ahead of those seasons, made the postseason. So also there's a thing here is that you're talking about teams that had easy schedules didn't make the postseason. Okay. Now, I do know the Falcons' schedule last year was supposed to be really easy. They didn't make the postseason. Right? But as I said, on the other hand, the 2023 Eagles and the 2021 Steelers, both of whom had the most challenging schedules ahead of the season, made the postseason. So that's not enough reason to inspire hope that head coach Brian Daboll and his staff can shape the current 90-man roster into a competitive group. Consider that there is a 25-season streak in which at least 4 teams, this is true, qualified for the playoffs after missing out the year before. Every year. Every year, there's always, there's always new teams coming. I mean, because a lot of times it's like, the team made the playoffs last year, whatever, Steelers. I mean, it's kind of hard to say the Steelers. Steelers every year win, and so it's kind of tough. But you look at certain teams like, okay, they made the playoffs last year, so they'll make the playoffs again this year. No, it's not the way it works out. So when I was growing up, right, in the 70s, every year the Cowboys made it. There was a certain period, the Raiders made it every year, right? Once 72 rolled around, the Steelers made it all the time. Certain teams that every freaking year made the play. The Vikings every year kept winning the division, kept going to play. Every year it was same freaking teams. The Dolphins were really good. Once from 70 to 75, I think the Dolphins made the playoffs every year. It's just like, and of course, then the Redskins, once George Allen got, look at his thumbs and all that from 72 to 77, I think they made the playoffs 4 or 5 times. And then in the 80s, when Gibbs was there, the Redskins were really good every year. So, of course, then you got with Wall with the 49ers, right? They were in the playoffs almost like every year in the 80s. So, you go back in time, the real good teams always rose to, the same almost every year. Lombardi and the Packers, right? They made the playoff. That was 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64. No, but 65, 66, 67. Then Lombardi retired from being a coach with the Packers. But every year, the Browns. From 50 to 50, actually from 50 to 57, they made it every year to the championship game, except in 56. So it's like the back and it's like the good teams every year, almost the same teams every year. Yeah. Now it's not. It's because now there's obviously they want parity, right? And they get it. There's always teams. Obviously, every year, the teams that come out of nowhere that make the playoffs. Some teams come up for 1 year and say, "Oh wow, look at that team. They're good. They'll be in the playoffs next year." Then you never see them again, right? Further, at least one team has won its division this season after missing the playoffs in 53 of 55 seasons since the AFL-NFL merger in 1970. Once again, at least one team has won its division this season after missing the playoffs in 53 of 55 seasons since the merger. Can the 2025 Giants be the latest team to prove the strength of schedule theory is bogus and do well enough to get back to the postseason? As the data from NFL research showed, it's not impossible, but it's certainly going to take a lot more in terms of playing disciplined ball and making the plays that in the past have eluded the Giants. That a few of the things, right? They got to win these close games. We had so many one-score games last year. I think we won one. We were like 1 out of 8, 1 and 8, or something like that. And the difference was, right, in 2022, we were winning all those one-score games. And what happened? We were 9-7-1, went to the playoffs. We were finding ways to win those one-score games. Past 2 seasons, haven't. I said last year, I think we were 1 and 8, or something like that. We couldn't find, when the score was close, we could not find a way to win a game. That's one. And the other one is injuries. I mean, obviously nobody, no coach is going to say, well, we were injured. So, nobody's going to say it. It's always next man up. Yeah. That's all they're ever going to say. Nobody's going to, put any excuses or anything on injuries. But the Giants, once again, injured last year, especially on the offensive line. That really hurt them. Now, were they going to make the playoffs? Probably not. But, injuries. So, but, that's why they play the games. That's why they play to see. You have no idea. If you knew what was going to happen, what the final score was going to be, why bother playing the game? Right. So, anything's possible. And the one thing I love about right now, right, is everybody's 0-0. Everybody's no wins and everybody's tied for first place. Everybody has their Super Bowl aspirations. Everybody, all these Giant fans are like, well, the offensive line can gel together. We get that running game going, and we, and Wilson can hit some long passes deep that'll open stuff underneath. Maybe we can start scoring some more points, and with that good defense, maybe we can win a few more games. I don't know. It might be our season, So that's I always love, this time of the season because we haven't lost any games yet, and training camp hasn't started yet, so we haven't lost any players yet due to injury. I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop. Anyway, now I think it was CBS Sports did top 25 moments in the NFL. Moments, not games or nothing like that. Moments since 2000. Now, who? Pray tell, who could be that? If you look at the thumbnail, it gives you a hint. What was the number one moment in the past 25 seasons? Wonder what it was. Well, the Giants are well represented in these top 25 moments. Out of the 20, there's unfortunately, one of them is the Miracle of the Meadowlands 2. So the Giants were in that game. Of course, they should have won that game, but it is what it is. But the Giants hold, I think, there's 2 spots in the top 25 moments. Now, one of these moments, it's been since 2000. Now, one of these moments I'm going to go over here was came in the it was the playoffs after the 99 season. So this game was played in 2000, but it was the playoffs for the 99 season, right? But the Giants are well represented. I'm not I'm not going over number 24. It's silly. It's stupid, and it's a team I totally despise. But let's see. Goes real fast here. Is this it? Okay. The NFL isn't just about star players, splashy moves, and the Super Bowl contenders. It's also about great stories. Isn't that why we watch football in the first place? Absolutely. To witness the rise of underdogs, the construction and inevitable toppling of powerhouses, the bumpy and thrilling journey that every team, every player, every coach, every fan undergoes from September through January, and hopefully February. Sports at their best aren't just as a mindless distraction from daily life. They're in fact the opposite. They are compelling stories woven on the green grass of stadiums, brimming with the roaring support of communities who've come together from all walks of life to champion a similar cause. And every once in a while during this annual drama, the NFL comes through with a moment, a catch, a score, a rant, a title, an occurrence that stops the sports world in its tracks and eventually cements itself into history. In celebration and anticipation of the next season, the next opportunity for timeless memories to be made, here are some of the top 25 NFL moments of the first 25 years of the 2000s. They go over some honorable mention ones. Number 25, I'm not reading. It's stupid. And it's about a team I can't stand. Number 24, Tim Tebow's walk-off in the playoffs against the Steelers in 2012. Tebow mania was short-lived at the NFL level as the former Florida great started just 14 total games for the Broncos, but not even number 15's notoriously erratic arm could overshadow the playoff magic of his strike to Demaryius Thomas on the first play of overtime against the Steelers. When Thomas burned Pittsburgh for 80 yards, the game-winning score felt like destiny for Denver's polarizing punch. And, of course, he did the Tebow in the end zone. Right? That was a great throw, too, right? Over the middle, great throw, great catch, and everybody was freaking out and all that. Of course, it was in Denver. Now, this one, of course, number 23, the 13-second drive. I mean, you figure when Buffalo scored with 13 seconds to go, they had the game wrapped up against the Chiefs. Nope. All it took Patrick Mahomes needed just 2 plays in 13 seconds after Josh Allen's would-be game-winning touchdown pass to hand Buffalo its latest heartbreak. Well, they kicked the field goal, I believe it was, to send it into overtime. Then they wound up winning in overtime. I mean, Josh Allen willed his team down the field, scored that touchdown with 13 seconds to go. Unbelievable. Unfrickin' believable. Michael Vick's walk-off in 2002. Oh, yeah, my goodness, against the Vikings. This, I tell you what, boy, this guy was unbelievable. His dropped back to pass, and they took off on a game-winning run in overtime. Whew, unbelievable. Tom Brady unretires in 2022. Brady's directly or indirectly involved in a handful of these moments. That's what happens when you make 10 career Super Bowl appearances. So Brady unretires in 2022. That's number 21. Number 20 is the Miracle at the Meadowlands. I'm not going over that one. Number 19, Dennis Green's rant, 2006. Who they were is who we thought they were. When he was the coach of the Cardinals, and the Cardinals blew a 20-point lead to the Bears in prime time. How embarrassing! How embarrassing! Of course, that was the year the Bears went to the Super Bowl. Sherman versus Crabtree in the 2014 the playoffs. Sherman was, because Crabtree, the pass was it was thrown like 6 inches too high. It was thrown too high. It wasn't because Sherman had great coverage. He had good coverage, but if the pass was there, Crabtree could have caught a touchdown pass. But I think it was thrown too high. But then Sherman came off and started cursing and stuff like that at Crabtree and started saying bad things about him and all that. Anyway, Tracy Porter's pick 6 in 2010. Let's see, number 16, the River City Relay in 2003. There was nothing inherently special about a late December matchup between two measly the Jaguars and the Saints until the Saints used not one, not two, but three laterals on the final play from scrimmage. Initially, a short pass from Aaron Brooks to threaten a comeback in the game's final 7 seconds. The improbability of Jerome Pathon's score was topped only by John Carney ensuing he missed the extra point. Because they scored to make it 20-19, and then Carney misses the extra point. The Minneapolis Miracle in 2018. What a ending to that game. My goodness, with Stephon Diggs taking his helmet off and throwing it and staring at the crowd. Oh, man, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Favre's the dad game, after his father passed away in 2003, threw, was it 5 touchdowns, I think he threw? 4 or 5 touchdowns he threw. 4 scores he threw. And he just threw the ball up, and they just went up and got the ball. You know what I mean? Favre's Lambeau return in 2009 was number 13. Number 12 was Devin Hester's kickoff return in the Super Bowl after the 2006 season. It was like how they started the game off. They kicked it off to Devin Hester. He runs it back for a touchdown. 92 yards for a score. But, of course, that might have been like the only touchdown I think the Bears, maybe they scored one other touchdown. I don't even know. They didn't score a lot of points. That was not a very good Super Bowl. Odell's one-hander, number 11. Of course, we all know that one, right, against the Cowboys in 2014. So the Giants get on the board at number 11. Odell Beckham's one-hander is number 11. Now, this is, I think it's CBS Sports, yeah. Yeah, CBS Sports, the top 25 moments for the first 25 years of the 2000s. Oh, yeah, okay, we got it. Let's say, so now we got number 10 is Aaron Rodgers' Hail Mary in 2016. Now, these are all, up for debate, what order they're in and all that stuff and everything. And I'm sure there's some other plays out there. I said, I'm not even reading 25. That one's kind of stupid. I'm sure I could come up with a dozen other plays that were more impactful than play number 25. So, but Rodgers' Hail Mary in 2016, that's number 10. The Philly Special in the Super Bowl, that's number 9. The Music City Miracle. I'm surprised this one's not a little bit lower. But this is the one that was after the 99 season was played in the 2000 playoffs. It helped the Titans, right, get to the Super Bowl, right, where it was one of being. It was a boring Super Bowl early on, but they finally the last quarter got to be some excitement finally, and of course then they came up like Dyson came up like 1 yard short. I think it was Dyson, where it was like a yard short of scoring at the game-tying touchdown. But the Music City Miracle, this was like the Titans / Oilers way of getting back at Buffalo, right? Because when the Oilers were beating Buffalo, was it 35-3 or 38-3? I think it was. It was 38-3, and the Bills came back in the playoffs and wound up winning it overtime. So the Music City Miracle, what a finish that one was! Whew, my goodness. 16 seconds to go. Buffalo's winning 16-15. Unbelievable. Oh, okay, here we go. Number 7 is a yard short. So in the 2000, then in the 1999 Super Bowl, which was played in the year 2000, let's see, Kevin Dyson stretching, but never quite reaching the glory. He was like a yard short of tying the game. It was 23-16. So he would have tied it at 23-23, and they would have gone in overtime if they scored a touchdown. But he was a yard short. Malcolm Butler's goal line pick, 2015. Now, of course, this one is one of the when you got Marshawn Lynch there. We're going to talk. Look, Marshawn's got another one in there. When you got Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, and he's just chewing up yard after yard after yard against the Patriots defense. Why don't you give the guy the ball? I don't know why you try to get all get all cute and fancy and try to throw the ball. So stupid. That, to me, is the stupidest play in Super Bowl history. Number 5, San Antonio Holmes, game-winning, the catch from Ben Roethlisberger. What a throw that was from Roethlisberger. That was a great catch, but the throw was fantastic, too. Number 4, James Harrison, pick 6 in the same Super Bowl. So the same Super Bowl has got the San Antonio Holmes game winner and a James Harrison pick 6. The Beastquake, 2011. Did the Seahawks win the Super Bowl this year? Were they even a top title contender? The truth is it doesn't really matter now because Marshawn Lynch's defining wild card touchdown rumble against the Saints was where were you kind of moment. Rarely as a player exuded so much nasty authority on a single play, Seahawks fan or not, you simply had to stop what you were doing, mouth ajar to relive this one, the one play. Now also this one particular season, the Seahawks, I think, won their division with a losing record. And the Saints and a lot of other teams were like, why? The Saints had a good record that year. Whatever they were, 11-5 or 10-6. And they had to go on the road because they're a wild card team. Had to go on the road and play a team who won the division with a losing record. Now, whatever, maybe they were 7-8-1. So it's like, why? We got such a good record. Why are we playing a crappy team on the road? Why? Well, this is why. Right, Marshawn Lynch, what a run. He willed himself into the end zone. What a run. I'll tell you what, man. If seeing him just running through the whole team, it just doesn't pump you up. Nothing will. Unbelievable. What a run. All right. And, of course, then you got the number 2 is the Patriots are 28-3 comeback against the Falcons. I mean, my goodness, unbelievable. 31 unanswered points to become Super Bowl champions. What an absolute joke. Anyway, the number 1 of all time, according to CBS Sports, and I'm not going to argue, is the helmet catch. David Tyree. Everything about this was legendary. The Giants were just in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. They were looking to halt history, which is true, trying as underdogs to spoil New England's bid for the first perfect NFL season in more than 30 years. They were trailing in the final 2 minutes, and then Eli Manning escaped the tugs of a Patriots pass rush and sent the ball to the skies in desperation, only for David Tyree to go up and come down with the pigskin pinned to his blue helmet in what some might have perceived as proof of divine intervention. Yeah. I mean, he caught on his freaking helmet. Rodney Harrison was there swatting at it and everything like that. The miracle propelled the Giants to finish the drive and hoist the trophy, ensuring forever the Patriots were remembered as 18-1. That shit still, I'm sorry, it still pumps me up, man. That still gets me to this day. Always will, man. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. All right, now what we got here, right, is if you got the defensive competitions to watch in camp. Now, of course, if you got the defensive competition, we're also going to talk about the offensive competitions, right, in camp. Now, this one is from there's a little article here. Now, there are some competitions here, all right. Now, some of them are kind of, kind of more, or a lot of these positions are already kind of cemented and kind of in stone, right? But there are some, right? Defensive competitions to watch. This is from John Schmelk from Giants.com. I don't think there can be any debate that the biggest competition on defense is the second outside cornerback spot. We know Paulson and Debo will be starting on the one side of the field, but reps with the ones at the other spot were split between Deonte Banks and Cordell Flott throughout the spring. Both players are on their rookie contracts and have starter experience. Flott has settled in as an outside cornerback and had a strong spring, while Banks is trying to finally put it all together in his third year. There should also be a battle for the fourth outside cornerback between guys like Trey Hawkins, Art Crane, and the rookies on the roster. The other starting spot that might change or rotate will be the interior defensive lineman next to Sexy Dexy. I think it's going to be Roy Robertson Harris, but I don't think it is etched in stone in the five-man fronts. The other player could be Nacho if they decide to go big, or with Chauncey Golston, who can slide out to the five technique if they want more speed on the field. Who starts at those spots is not that important since there will be a heavy rotation on the defensive line. I do think the competition for who will make the back end of the defensive line on an initial 53-man roster will be good competition. The rest of the competition will be for the backup spots. Do the Giants keep 6 linebackers? And if so, what's the order of depth behind the two starters between the two starters? They got Darius Muirsow, Deontay Johnson, Chris Board, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. Who is the fourth safety behind Javon Holland, Tyler Newbern, and Dane Belton? Young veterans Raheem Lane and Anthony Johnson will battle for that spot. So, if we look at the roster here, right, the defensive side of the roster, all right, now, it's so at safety, we know we got Newbern and Holland, and then Belton. Those are 3. Just ride them in. Are they keeping 4 safety? Got 4 on the 53. Well, then is it going to be who we got? Anthony Johnson Jr. They got Makari Page, Raheem Lane, right, as of right now. Now, once again, this is it's always somebody gets hurt, right? Then they bring somebody else in, right? They bring guys in, they let guys, so it's pretty it changes quite a bit. So now, of course, at the cornerback position, right, is what John Schmidt was talking about. Who's going to be cornerback number 2? Who's going to be the starter? It's going to be a big battle there between Banks and Flott. Banks, can he step up and actually become what he's supposed to be? And Flott sometimes has done a very good job. His one problem is, can he stay healthy? You can do well on the field, but if you're not healthy, what good are you, right? Of course, then, how many cornerbacks are we keeping? Right, we're going to keep maybe, I don't know, we're going to have 4 safeties and 5 cornerbacks, 6 cornerbacks. Right, that will give us 10 guys in the secondary. So, so who's going to be? Let's see. Quarterback. Yeah, who's going to be behind Drew Phillips? Right, on his depth chart here that I'm looking at, they got Trey Hawkins is behind Deontay Banks. That's not. Well, Corey Black, will he make the roster? 7th round pick. Kind of tough, but you never know. We got D. Williams, Corey Black, Cordell Flott, Trey Hawkins, Deontay Banks, Drew Phillips, Paulson Adebo, Art Green, and let's see, got Nick Jones. Anybody else? TJ Moore and O'Donnell Fortune. So we got a lot of guys, but some of those guys, But but the one biggest battle. There's 2, but so one of them is cornerback number 2. Who's going to win that one, right? Then you got your outside linebackers, right? How many we're going to keep? We keep it, Is Carter going to be considered an outside linebacker, or is he going to be an off-ball linebacker? Interesting to say. So we know we got obviously Abdul Carter, we got Brian Burns, and then we got Kayvon. Who's going to be behind those? Is Chauncey Golston? Is he going to be as an outside linebacker? Is he going to be included in the defensive line? Who knows? Are we keeping 4 outside linebackers? We're going to keep 4 off-ball middle linebackers. We're going to keep 4 in. Have to wait and see. We got a Karake McFadden. And we got Muasau, right? Now, who else we got? Deontay Johnson, Chris Board, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, Ty Summers. Don't forget about him. Board is a very good special teamer. So there's a good chance he's going to make the team, at least if not for anything, just for special teams play. Okay. And of course, then you got the defensive line, right? Yeah. How often are we going to have 3 defensive linemen? If you got Burnsy here and you got Kayvon here, right? Yeah. How often are you going to have 3 defensive linemen? You have 2 defensive ends, or 2 edge rushers, or 2 outside linemen, whatever you want to call them. How many times you got 3 defensive? Yeah. Nacho. That's another one of the things. Is he going to make? He's been here to help stop the run. Well, our run defense has sucked, so he's not done a super spectacular job. Right. So he's on the bubble. There's a chance he's on the bubble. And if the Giants would have let him go, they would wind up saving himself a few $1 million. And the Giants can use all the money they can get right now. So he said we got Roy Robertson Harris, Nacho, Dexter, Sexy Dexy, Jeremiah Ledbetter, DJ Davidson. Is he going to be able to hang around? Jordan Riley. Is he going to get a roster spot? Don't forget about Elijah Chapman, the darling from last season, right? Corey Durden, and let's not forget Darius Alexander. I'm sure you can almost pencil him in to make the roster. He ain't going nowhere. So it's going to be interesting to see, like DJ Davidson, Jordan Riley, the guys that we drafted. Are they going to make the team? They're going to make the 53. If not, any of them going to be on the practice squad. Is Nacho? Is he going to get cut loose? He's only getting older, and he hasn't done a very good job for us. Right? We're not paying him $30 million a year. I get it, but he was supposed to come in and help really stop the run, and that hasn't happened. Hasn't happened at all, and he's only getting older. This is his last season of his contract, too. So we could let him go and save some money. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. Very, very interesting to see. So a lot of good stuff going on, but of course, a lot of them also is also has to do with the health of the guys, right? Can we all stay healthy? Unfortunately, the answer for that is no. Of course, as the days go by, you'll see a report so and so limped off the field. Haven't limped off the field halfway through practice. Haven't seen him come back on the field. Not sure where he's at. So and so went up for a ball, came down hard on his shoulder. Had to be helped off the field. He went into the locker room. Haven't seen him say. So you're going to start getting these reports. So guys are going to get injured, and as guys get injured, we're going to bring other guys in. So we'll have to wait and see. But for me the biggest one, right? Because we know the 2 starting safeties are. We know 2 of the starting cornerbacks. We know Dexter. We know the outside linebackers. We know Micah McFadden is going to get a good portion of, but Carter's going to be on the field. Karake is going to. We know a lot of guys that are going to be on the field. The 2 that we really don't know, right, is that one cornerback, this cornerback number 2, and who's going to be the prime player next to Sexy Dexy, right? I'm really anxious to see what Alexander can bring. Very, very excited. Because if he can be something special, boy, it'd be a nice tandem. Have him and Sexy next to each other. That'd be really, really great. So, but now if we're talking about the defense, well, then you got to talk about the offense. Offensive competitions to watch in camp. Well, this guy right here, right? The guy who packed on about. It's never. There's no way in HEL double hockey sticks that it's 20 pounds muscle he put on. That ain't happening, right? Unless he was on roids, right? In 3-4 months, that's not happening. He put on a few pounds, sure, absolutely, but it's not all muscle. But apparently, he didn't lose any of his speed, which is huge. So I got here, right? The offensive competitions to watch. Now, this is from Matt Sitek, he was talking about. Let's start with offensive competitions in the starting lineup, where there seems to be just one position in question. Giants are returning most of their offensive starters from the start of last season, with their biggest change, of course, coming at quarterback. All 5 Week 1 starters along the offensive line are returning, but could there be a competition for the starting right guard spot? Yes, we don't know the right guard and the right tackle. That we don't know. Greg Van Roten re-signed with the team after being the only player to be on the field for every offensive snap last season, and the veteran likely has the early advantage for the spot after putting together a solid campaign. But following his transition from tackle to guard, Evan Neal will be given an opportunity to battle for that starting spot. That's going to be a nice fight for the guard spot. With no contact allowed during the spring, training camp will be the first real chance for both guys to show what they can do. We're all competing, Van Roten told the media during OTAs. Nothing is set in stone. This is May, so you've got to earn it every day. And that's a reason I think that I've been able to stick around the league for 14 years, because I don't think that I've earned anything, or anything should be just handed to me. I'm sure Evan feels the same way. I'm sure Jake Kubas, who we're going to be talking about a little bit, feels the same way. There's a lot of guys in our room, and the reality of the situation, we will have 9 or 10 at the end of training camp, so you just want to be in that 9 or 10. Yeah, 9 or 10 on the 53. 10, that's a lot. I could certainly see at least 8, if not 9, make the 53. 10, that's a lot of offensive linemen to make the 53. It's a lot. 10, maybe, obviously, if you're talking maybe the practice squad. But when it comes to depth at certain positions, there are a few more competitions to keep an eye on. For starters, how will the quarterback competition play out? Russell Wilson will begin the season as a starter, but there should be good competition this summer between him, Jameson Winston, Jackson Dart, and Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan. Giants are not going to rush Dart on the field, but the rookie should get plenty of opportunities to prove himself throughout training camp. The first 4 wide receiver spots are likely locked in place with Malik Neighbors, Wando Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt. But which guys will round out the bottom of the depth chart? The same goes for tight end, where there could be several spots up for grab behind Theo Johnson, and the offensive line, where the last couple of roster spots will be earned throughout the summer. Now, if we look, right, okay, so we go to the defensive side here. There is a ton of guys who could possibly play guard. Zudu, right? Because you pretty much figure John Runyon Jr., for all intents and purposes, is going to be the left guard, right? But you got Aaron Stinney, you got Joshua Zudu, Greg Van Roten, Evan Neal, Jake Kubas, Marcus Bowe could be a guard for all we know, right? So there's a lot of guys. Now you figure that's going to be interesting to see also who's taking snaps where, right? Who's taking snaps for Andrew Thomas at left tackle while he's not on the field? He's trying to get back, but didn't make any promises. I did a video on this because obviously somebody did an article on it, so I did a video on it last time about Andrew Thomas. I can't promise. Week 1 is the goal. That's the goal. He's not making any fancy promises or nothing like that. Hopefully, there's a good chance he'll be back by then. But if he is back by then, let's hope that he can actually stay healthy for a length of time. That would be so nice. But who's taking his place, right, in training camp? Who's taking his place in the preseason games? So, but it's also a good thing because you got your star player who is your starting left tackle. You pencil the dude in, right? But it gives a lot of extra snaps to a lot of other players. It's very, very good. So who's going to be taking his snaps, his spot, a left tackle, right? What are we doing with Bo? Is he going to be the tackle? Is he going to be pretty much out there? And who's starting at the right tackle, right? Because let's not forget last season, right? When Thomas got injured, we took Illuminor from the right tackle and put him on the left tackle. Is Illuminor going to go and take Thomas's spot during the training camp? If that's the case, who's going to be the right tackle? Is it going to be Bo? Right? And I said, and that battle for the right guard is going to be very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. And then of course, then are we keeping 4 tight ends? Possibly. We got Manhurts, right, for his blocking ability. He'll catch a few passes, but ain't gonna be many. But he's the if we need some beef in there, right? He's the man. Hurts, right? As far as the blocking. We're not putting Fedoni on the practice squad. I really don't see that happening. Theo Johnson, he's not going on the practice squad. So, is Bellinger? We're gonna have 4 guys, and they got Dulcich. Who's the other guy? I keep forgetting. Tight end, Dulcich, Jermaine Terry. I keep forgetting him. So we got Fedoni, Dulcich, Manhurts, Bellinger, Theo Johnson, and Jermaine Terry. So if are we going to keep 4 tight ends? Because we're not putting Theo Johnson on the practice squad. We're not putting Fedoni on the practice squad. If we want a blocking tight end, well, we got Manhurts. So it'll be interesting. Very, very interesting. The other one will be a running back, right? We got Tyrone Tracy Jr., right? As of right now, we got Scatterboo, right? Is he going to be the number 2 back? What about Motor Singletary? If we were to let Motor Singletary go, we would save ourselves some money. Of course, Motor Singletary is the veteran presence, right? Is Eric Gray? We're going to find a spot for him? I don't know. The problem is because if he winds up becoming like running back, like say number 4, and he's not super duper special on special teams, right? Because he fumbles the ball a lot. And if that's the case, right? Because last year Turbo, it'd be nice if we could find something for him to do. Because with his speed, I haven't seen, I haven't been there training the OTAs or nothing like that. But what they say is, his speed is, he's fast. So it'd be a shame. It'd be nice if we could find something for him. But the thing is that, I don't see us keeping 4 running backs on the active roster. I could see Tracy, and maybe Motor Singletary. Unless we let Motor Singletary go to save some money, then you maybe keep Eric Gray. So that's going to be something. Of course, we know for the most part, Russell Wilson. Yeah, I wouldn't be bummed out with that. I mean, they drafted Gray, but hasn't been nothing super spectacular. I haven't seen Turbo, right? But they like if you listen to Big Blue Kickoff Live and stuff, those guys there like John Schmelk, Matt Sitek, Paul Dottino, those guys see him, every day. They see that, they say he's fast. He's so fast, he makes fast guys look slow. He's fast. So it'd be nice if they could find someplace, or, if they're going to keep let Eric Gray go and put Turbo back on the practice squad, whatever. But I would love to see Turbo on the field. Of course, then you got, Wilson, right? Dart, Jameson Winston. What about Chicken Cutlet Parmesan? We're not keeping 4 quarterbacks. He's going to go on the practice squad. There's a good chance if he goes on the practice squad, somebody might come in there and scoop him up because he has starting experience, and he's won. He's won for a crappy football team. He's won football games for a crappy football team. So there's a chance that he might get scooped up by another team. Let's see here. Of course, and then, so I have to, the offensive line, we're not sure, a couple, like the right guard, the biggest thing is we know we got Malik, we got Wandale, we got Darius, and we got Jalen Hyatt. Now, the other thing is, we're going to keep maybe 7 wide receivers, right, on the 53, 6 or 7. So we got those 4. Is Amir Smith-Marset going to be number 5 because of his returning, his returnability, right? So if that would be 5, who might be the other 2. Now we got 5 undrafted free agents, rookie free agents on this team that we got here. Yeah. I mean, you keep hearing some nice things, but once again, OTAs and all that is a little different animal than training camp. And of course, the regular season games are a different animal than training camp, right? But because in OTAs and the mini camps and all that, you can't even touch a guy, right? So, but we got a lot of guys, right? We got Daquan Felton, Juice Wells, right? He got Juice and Jackson, got that combination going on, right? From Ole Miss, Jordan Bly, Bo Collins, and Dalen Cambry, right? So we got 5 undrafted rookie free agents on this roster. Let's not forget about Bryce Ford Wheaton. Now, they thought so much of him a couple of years ago, they actually gave him a signing bonus, right? Bevan Neal can be a good guy. I hope so, too, man. That would be fantastic. He was according to PFF, that's all I'm going by, he was our highest graded run blocking offensive lineman last year. He graded out like an 80. His pass blocking, once again, was a little something to be desired, but his run blocking was really good. So, he's like 6'7", 330, 340, whatever. He's a mauler. He can move some people, right? So he did well in the run blocking last year. Can he be a good, if he doesn't have to worry about these edge rushers running around them, or if he can just be more, got the more like in a phone booth where he doesn't have to worry about dancing around. Of course there'll be stunts and twists and all that stuff, but you don't have to, move quite as much when you're a guard, as you do if you're a tackle. So, man, if he could, that'd be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Then the number 7 overall pick in the 2022 draft won't look quite as bad, right? But I mean that would be fantastic. That'd be great because he's young, right? If he can be a good guard, I'm all for it. Sign me up for it. Right? Sign me up for it. I love it. But I said, so who's going to be the other wide receivers? So the thing is that we brought back a lot of the guys from last year. I've seen this written, and I've said it too. It's one thing. It's just sometimes a little odd, because as bad as the offense has been, or especially as bad as the offense been the past couple of seasons. And as bad as the offense was last season, a lot of times what happens when the team stinks offensive-wise, whatever, what do? You make changes. Well, we sucked last year, so let's make some changes. Well, we didn't really. Right. The 2 running backs, right? Motor Singletary, right? As of right now, and Tyrone Tracy, we drafted Cam, right? But we brought the top 2 running backs back. We brought back the top 3 tight ends from last year. Bellinger, Theo Johnson, and Manhurts. They're all back, right? The same offensive line. All those guys are back. Now, they may not wind up all starting. Neal might be the starting right guard or something like that. We don't know. Bo might go in there. Who knows, right? But we brought back the same starters, right? We brought back Thomas Runyon Jr., John Michael Schmitz, GVR, and Illuminor. They're all back, right? We brought back all the wide receivers, the top 4 wide receivers, right? We brought back Slayton, brought back Malik Neighbors, Wandale Robinson, and Jalen Hyatt. Got maybe Amir Smith, Morset. Yeah, so we brought back a lot of the same guys. Even Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan, we brought back. He may not want to make the team, but But other than that, I mean, Wilson, Winston, and Dart, that we made some wholesale changes at quarterback, but a lot of the same guys we brought back on the offensive side. So there's a couple of spots up for grab. One of the things it'd be interesting as the season goes along, right? One of the questions is what I hear. You read and all that stuff is so much is not like if Dart's going to get a chance. It's when will he get a chance this year? So that's going to be something else to look forward to. But starting tomorrow, right? Or actually, I'm sorry, starting today, right? It's Tuesday morning. Training camp is in session. The rookies will be in the house, right? And finally, we end up with a feel-good story, shall we? Jake Kubas's inspiring journey. Now he did okay last year. He still has he certainly needs some improvement. But this article I'm going to read. What we got? Bring back Odell. I'll tell you what. You bring back Odell, but you're going to be putting some fans in the stands for that. I'll tell you what. He's not the same guy as he was. That's for sure. But he will certainly sell some tickets. That's for darn sure. Without question. Oh yeah. You get Odell on one side, and you get and you get Malik Neighbors on the other. Woo! Hey, that'd be great. All right. So with Jake Kubas, from small town to the NFL, his inspiring journey with the New York Giants. Jake Kubas is a prime example of how success in the NFL is achievable regardless of one's origin. The former Trinity Titans player made his mark by reaching pro football. Now let's not forget also, right? He was a walk-on at North Dakota State, right? If he'd be half of what he was, oh yeah. If he'd be half, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be that. Yeah, fans would be excited then. That's for sure. Without question. But with Kubas, he was a walk-on at North Dakota State. You just don't walk on at North Dakota State. I mean, they are without question a phenomenal organization as far as college football, right? And then, of course, making it to the NFL, we'll have to he's one of the guys we'll have to wind up seeing if he winds up making the 53 or not. But Jake Kubas is a prime example of how success in the NFL is achievable regardless of one's origin. Is inspiring younger students at Trinity High School, and never before has anyone from his former school achieved this feat. It's been a long journey, hard journey, said Kubas. The small-town athlete's remarkable journey started as a walk-on player at North Dakota State. After 6 gritty years, the Trinity High grad signed for the New York Giants without being drafted. So he walked on at North Dakota State, right? And I tell you what, he did very, very well, especially his senior season. His overall grade was a 76.8, according to PFF. His pass block was a 79.5, and his run block was a 79.2. Now, once again, this is North Dakota State. They played Central Arkansas, Montana State, North Dakota, Western Illinois, Murray State, South Dakota State, Southern Illinois, Northern Iowa, Montana State, South Dakota, Montana. They played Maine. So we're not talking LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, Florida. We're not talking the best of the best. But, he did pretty well. He did pretty darn well for himself. In his second to last season, he graded out a 75.9. So I mean, he did pretty well for himself in North Dakota State. And he was a walk-on, right? Wasn't recruited at all. So after 6 years, he signed for the New York Giants without being drafted. He earned his place on the 53-man roster. Wasn't even drafted. Went to North Dakota State with a walk-on, made the team. Wasn't drafted by the Giants, made the team. Right? Doesn't matter if you come from a town of 200 people, 20,000, or 100,000. You can achieve your dreams wherever you're at. They're going to find you if you put the work in, Cooper said. At the end of the day, I'm trying to represent this region and this community as best as I can. And to be able to do that at the highest level, football is very fun for me. The North Dakota walk-on encourages aspiring players to focus on skill development to outwork opponents. He emphasized that hard work and mastering technique are more important than size. Let's see. What's his, what do they got here? 6'4", 308 pounds. So, I mean, 6'4", that's some nice height, right? 308 might be a little on the light side. You'd like maybe add another 10 to 15, maybe 20 pounds onto his frame. But 6'4" is not bad. The NFL certainly brings tough challenges. Nevertheless, his passion remains steadfast. When I'm playing football, I'm having so much fun. I just do some things that I don't even know what I'm trying to do. His story stands as a powerful symbol of perseverance and serves as motivation for athletes from small towns aiming for big dreams. Kubis is a prime example of how success in the NFL is achievable regardless of one's origin. The former Trinity Titans player made his mark by reaching pro football's top level with the Giants, inspiring younger students at Trinity High School. Never before has anyone from his former school achieved this feat. It's been a long, hard journey. The small-town athlete's remarkable journey started as a walk-on player at North Dakota State. North Dakota walk-on encourages aspiring players to focus on skill development, right? If you're willing to go to take on a guy that's bigger than you, but you have the better technique, and you're going to outwork him, you can win a lot of reps, and you can go a long way in this game, said Kubis. The NFL certainly brings tough challenges. Nevertheless, his passion remains steadfast. When I'm playing football, I'm having so much fun. I just keep saying the same thing over and over in this article. Same thing over and over and over. But so he's going to be one of those guys too. You have to keep an eye on if he makes the team. Give me like 40 catches, 505 touchdowns. I'll take. Kubis just needs to keep getting more. Yeah. I mean, from what I read, there was another article I read. It was a couple months ago. It seems like the team is kind of high on him. He let's say last season. I mean, I know his run blocking was not that bad. Let me go here. Where are we at here? His pass blocking had a little something to be desired. Let's see. What last season, his overall offensive grade was a 52. His pass block was a 39. His run blocking was a 67.2. But his pass block was a 39.2. So he certainly has some room. But he only played a grand total of 197 snaps. Right? He played one snap against Baltimore in Week 15. Right? But he played 29 snaps against New Orleans. In the last 3 weeks, he was the starter. He played against Atlanta. Against Atlanta, he graded out a 67 overall. Then in Week 17 against Indianapolis, he graded out a 51.9. Then against the Eagles, the Eagles, they're tough. He only graded out a 29.2. His pass block was a 38, so he obviously had some issues there. But he only played a grand total of 197 snaps last year. So he's graded out a 52. They do say, obviously, he didn't play that many snaps. So they usually say after your third season, that's pretty much about where your ceiling's going to be at. So if he makes the 53-man this year, or even the practice squad, does he get in some playing time? Does he keep ascending? Does he keep working on his technique, his skills, and all that? I think 308 pounds, you can certainly play in this league. That's for darn sure. But some guys, could use a little bit more weight, help him out a little bit, a little more strength, a little more weight. But he's going to be one of those guys to keep an eye on. But I do know I remember reading an article last season that or not last season, maybe it was a few months ago, that said that the Giants' front office was kind of high on him. So maybe he might be one of the young lads. Let's see how old is he? Because he did play a lot of years of college. They have sometimes they don't have his date of birth. Jeez, I can figure it out, but so he'll be one of those interesting guys to see if he winds up making the team. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 50 minutes. Jay Sports Cards. Thanks for hanging out with me, brother. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for talking to me. Thanks for keeping me up. Here it is, almost 1:30 in the morning. So it's nice answering some questions sometimes. It actually helps keep me awake. Okay. All right, guys. 1 hour and 51 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. If anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo! Oh, yeah. Thank you.